Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Inquisitive Finance. I'm your host, Raphael Negron, and today we're going to talk about the last income bracket for all the different income brackets that we've been talking about in the last couple of days. We started off at 0 to 60K, and then we moved on from 60K to 120K, then from 120K to 250K, 250K to 500K, and now we're finally in the retirement and financial independence stage. So really quick, just a couple of things I want to talk about. Obviously, today I'm filming. It's a little bit brighter outside because now with my new style of filming, I'm actually filming on Sundays through Thursdays. So when you see this, it's going to be Monday for you, but it's Sunday for me. It's a Sunday fun day, as I call it. And I'm just excited to be filming at least a little bit earlier because typically I'm shooting at night. So it just kind of changes the mood of the whole thing. You can see that I have this awesome Halloween inspired blanket here that my wife put for me because we're very much into the festivities of the holidays, and with Halloween just around the corner, we started doing our decorations and everything. So I think that's a lot of fun. And hey, if you guys do the same thing, let me know. You got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We're super stoked for all that. I grew up in a very festive family, so it's always sort of a commonplace for me to do this type of thing. But anyway, let's get right into it. Really excited to get going today. And let's just go typically how we go, right? We do the responsibilities, the money mindset, and then we close off. So let's go. How responsibilities and ways you save money change at different income levels. I have a ton of notes here. Really excited to just go through them one by one and learn a little bit about what this means. So if you are familiar with this financial independence, maybe retire early, semi-retirement, there's a ton of videos about this on YouTube, right? You can see here the problem with the FIRE movement, the truth about FIRE, is early retirement actually possible? FIRE, how to retire early and own your life. To be completely honest, I don't think FIRE is for everyone. Now, I think FIRE, if you have the means to do it and you know exactly the type of lifestyle you want and you really don't want to work, and when I say work, I understand there's some people that even if they have high paying jobs, maybe they just don't like those jobs. They want to save money to retire really early and then to be able to maybe follow their passions and do whatever else they want for their life. I think there's also a couple of us like myself, to be completely honest. I'm probably just really lucky in this way, but I do enjoy my job. And the thing is, I feel like if I go into FIRE, even though I have the money and I can continue to keep growing it, whether it be through passion projects or whatever else I want to do in my life, or just maybe good investments, I still feel like I'm losing that stream of income from my primary job. And if I like my job, I might as well keep doing it till full retirement age because it'll continue stimulating my mind. I enjoy getting out of the house, talking to the people that I work with. Again, I might be in a very lucky situation here. Maybe let's say top 1% of people that actually enjoy waking up on a Monday and enjoy their jobs. So really you got to see where you fit. If you're someone that wants to retire early, just enjoy that in your 30s. Some people are even doing it in their 20s, then by all means go for it. But it does mean, I think, a lot of sacrifice in your 20s and 30s, being extremely frugal when you're very young to achieve that financial independence when you might be better served just enjoying life. Life is short. So just enjoy every moment of it. And if it means spending a little bit more here, maybe sometimes making dumb financial mistakes, I kind of think that's the process of growing up and building that wisdom, which is sort of what I talk a lot about here on this channel. So, really decide on where you fit in that spectrum. You might be super pro FIRE or not. I don't want to say I'm anti FIRE, but definitely I would not mind working until I'm retired. Anyway, so what are some of the responsibilities, right? So one of the main things here is sustaining your lifestyle safely. Things like withdrawal rates, healthcare, and taxes. Now, one of the most famous, let's say, withdrawal rates that you may have heard of is this idea of the 4% rule. It sort of means that when you start retirement, you can withdraw 4% of your, let's say, accumulated growth throughout all the years that you were accumulating it safely to make sure that you can retire until, well, I guess the day you die, right? You don't want to have so little or withdraw too much that you won't be able to sustain your retirement. And honestly, no one knows how long they're going to live, right? So you might retire and live until you're 100, and you still got to sustain yourself for many, many years, right? Your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, I know a lot of people that live well into their 90s, and sometimes I see people that are in their 90s still having the time of their lives. They're still out with family and traveling and drinking and eating and just doing all the great things in life, and life doesn't really slow down. So you need to make sure that you've spent all your young life accumulating all this wealth. Now you need to really make sure that you understand how to use it so you can continue into your golden years, have a great time, and still have money to be able to give to your family, build that legacy, live the lifestyle you want, because that stage 3 of your life could be one of the most fun and rewarding times of your life. So getting a little bit more deep into it. So it says here, many retirees use the 4% rule as a guideline. withdrawing 4% of their portfolio per year, but adjusting for inflation, market conditions, and personal comfort is key. Some go lower to 3 to 3.5% for safety and long retirements. Now, let's assume we have a retirement fund of about 2.5 million. Obviously, I mean, this is going to determine how early you started investing, how aggressive you were during all your young years, and later on, how much money you got through promotion, so on and so forth, how you used things like bonus. Maybe you got lucky, you picked a great stock, so on and so forth. But I'm going to assume here at 2.5 million because I like the $100,000 annual withdrawal. What you're going to do is every single year you're going to withdraw 4%, and it's 4% of that initial withdrawal, right? So every single year we have year 1, year 2, year 3, 4, 5. You're going to increase it with the amount of inflation, right? So if it's 3%, you're going to go up to 103. If it's 2, 105 every single year after that. And this ensures that you have that stability, right? You consistently pull out the same amount adjusted for inflation, so your purchasing power stays the same, and you make sure that you can ride that wave all the way until, frankly, the times where we pass on. Now, the 4% rule can be a little bit rigid, right? So if we learn a little bit about it here, well, kind of all over the place with that last statement, it was kind of hard for me to speak. Let's think about some of the important considerations and limitations, right? It's not a guarantee. The 4% rule is a guideline, not a guarantee. Its success depends on market performance, inflation, and your specific financial situation. Market inflation fluctuation. The rule is based on historical data. Recent market performance and inflation rates mean the 4% rule may be too high for some retirees. Then we have things like, of course, like your individual circumstances, your adaptability, your modern perspective, and also things like consulting a professional to be able to get personalized advice. At the end of the day, and I talked about this a lot, it doesn't really matter what income bracket you fall into. You always have to do what makes sense for you. All these things are reference points. These are guidelines. They're not, let's say, rules that you absolutely must follow. There's some people that might be happy just taking less. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you need to pull a lot of money out to continue sustaining your lifestyle. You might also have other things in your life that you can use that are more than, let's just say, your income. Do you remember we were talking about debt? Or I think it was actually my emergency fund video. One of the reasons I said that you don't necessarily need to have an emergency fund is because some people may have a very good family support system. They can lean on family when things get tough. They might be willing to pull out of their investments instead of having money just sitting there. So I think in this case, it also kind of the same thing applies, right? You might not need to pull out so much just for yourself. If suppose you have a spouse, for example, who also has a high, let's say, retirement fund, and you can sort of each pull out less to equal a greater amount and then live off less, right? If you're a single person, you want to take out $100,000 for you to live off the first year, that's fine, but maybe you and your spouse can each pull out 50, right? So just there's a lot of ways that you can make the money work for you long term, and you don't necessarily need to pull so much out of it so quickly and so soon. So just really try to figure out exactly where you stand, think about your different support systems, what other investments you have, and then from there, I think you can really calculate how much you need every year. I think at this point, unless you want to consult a professional, which remember, if you consult a professional, you're going to need to pay some amount of money. So all that money that you work so hard to gain, now you're kind of letting it go into something that maybe you can do on your own. And I think with tools like AI, for example, you might be able to better assess the amount you need to pull out by just prompting AI with something simple. So also take that into consideration. The amount of money that you might need to pay someone to make this part of your life easier might be too much, again, because you work so hard for all that money. So things to just consider. Okay, moving on to the second one, right? Healthcare. Healthcare is huge when we're in our 60s and 70s. A lot of people, me included, I'm 32 years old right now, not really thinking too much about my health. Thank God. I try to stay healthy. I try to make the right, let's say, decisions in my life to be as healthy as I can. But obviously, the older we get, the more problems happen. Sometimes emergencies happen. So healthcare is a really important thing to take into consideration. So here we have that healthcare costs often rise faster than inflation, even with Medicare or private insurance if you retire early. Budgeting for premiums, out-of-pocket expenses, and long-term care is essential. Even if your portfolio keeps up with inflation, your healthcare costs will rise faster than it. So, right, let's say inflation is like 2 to 3% every year, healthcare costs might be rising 4 to 6% every year. So it's going to be rising faster than the inflation rises. So you need to make sure you're accounting for this. How to account for this? Well, you might want to budget more aggressively or use one of my favorite accounts at HSA, a health savings account, to build a tax-free cushion for medical costs. Now, a health savings account is something I recently started doing. My job actually started offering it to us, I believe, a year or two ago. So I'm able to max this out typically in the beginning of the year because this is when I have, let's say, some money saved up to do so. And the best thing about an HSA, it's a triple tax advantage account, right? A triple tax advantaged account, right? You can immediately lower your taxable income. You can also let that money grow tax free. And then when you pull that money out for qualified medical expenses, you don't need to pay taxes on it. So imagine, it's one thing to just put money in a health savings account, but you can also invest that money just like you would, let's say, in your taxable brokerage account. So now you have this separate account that is being invested and growing at whatever annual rate of return. And then when you have the money or when you have a need for it later on during retirement with healthcare expenses, you can pull out of that. And the coolest thing is, let's say, even for someone like me that's young, I have all these receipts from medical expenses that I've paid. If I keep those receipts later on in life, like let's say I pay out of pocket now for those expenses, later on in life, if I have those receipts, I can get that money back because the IRS doesn't care about how long ago that medical expense happened. As long as I'm able to prove that it did happen and I paid for it and I have that receipt, I can pull that money out tax-free at the time when I need it later on in life. So a very, very good account. I highly recommend getting into it and maxing it out if you can. Let's actually look up the limits for this. I believe this year it's 4,300. So let's say contribution limits 2025. Yeah, so the health savings account HSA contribution limits for 2025 are $4,300 for individuals with self-only coverage and $8,550 for individuals with family coverage. So highly recommend looking into this if your employer offers it. I don't know if it's something that you can only do. I don't think it's like you need an employer to be able to do it. I think you can do it on your own, but really, really look into it. I can make a whole separate video about this if you all would like. It's a phenomenal account. It's like a stealth retirement account. Phenomenal if you can really max it out and let it grow. Remember, you don't just put money in it, you really need to invest the money in it. A lot of people think you just treat it like a normal savings account. You can invest the money in there. Oh, just got a notification from Walmart. That's awesome. I guess I got some lights for Halloween. It's like these really cool multicolored LED lights that I'm going to put on my hedges. So every year I try to do something new. Every year I try to do something new for Halloween, and this year I'm doing the hedge lights. So I don't know, kind of cool. Kind of a nice little distraction there because I'm excited about that. So let's keep going here. All right, so we have taxes. Everyone loves taxes, right? Withdrawals from traditional 401ks and IRAs are taxable income, while Roth accounts and brokerage accounts give you flexibility. Strategic withdrawals or partial Roth conversions can help you keep your tax bills steady over time. Now, this piece right here, strategic withdrawals or partial Roth conversions, is something I was very interested in. So check this out. You can convert a portion of your IRA or 401k into a Roth IRA, pay a modest tax now since you're going to be in a lower tax bracket once you retire, and let it grow tax-free. Now, you want to do this before the age of 73 because when 73 comes, there is something called a required minimum distribution that starts happening, which will increase your taxable income. So there's like this sweet spot between retirement age and RMD age where you can start moving some of this money from your traditional IRA or 401k into a Roth IRA, pay a modest tax right now because you just finished, right? You just retired. You're in a lower tax bracket now because you're making less. You can move that money over, pay a little bit of tax in it now, but then you let that money grow tax-free. That way, by the time your RMDs come, you have a lower taxable income and you won't need to pay as much. So these are those little types of things that you really need to pay attention to. And frankly, well, to be completely honest, I don't think that this is advice that's generally just offered at a high level. You kind of need to go a little deeper. Like if you guys know that meme, like let's think about that iceberg meme, right? Iceberg meme template. I don't know. Maybe this is not the best template, but that iceberg meme time says like the top of the iceberg is the easiest thing. The lower you go is the more complex. I feel like this definitely falls a little lower into that iceberg. Like if you read that Simple Plan to Wealth book I was telling you all a while ago, it might not really talk about things like this, right? I don't exactly remember. It definitely talks about RMDs. I just don't remember if it talks about these partial Roth conversions. So this is something you really have to go out of your way for. But if you do spend a little bit more time learning about this, you're going to save money because you don't have to pay a professional because now you figure it out on your own, and you're also going to allow more of your money to grow, and you won't have to pay as much taxes on this money, especially with these RMDs. So if anything, I'm glad I figured it out, that I could impart some wisdom onto my audience and they can figure it out on their own. Again, especially with these AI tools, right? A lot of these things that I learn are just through AI. I'm constantly chatting with ChatGPT and all these different models and just learning, letting it help me with all the research that needs to be done. And it's just the easiest way to go about it. So use these tools that you have, learn about it so you don't have to pay someone else to do it for you, because all the time they might just be doing the same thing behind the scenes. You're paying someone to do something that you can do yourself. So something to think about, all right? Knowledge is power. Okay, let's move on to this next piece right here. Managing sequence of returns, risk, and longevity. Right? Sequence of returns risk means market downturns in the first few years of retirement can shrink your portfolio faster because you're withdrawing while assets are down. This is something I'm entirely ready to accept about my current strategy, right? I'm very aggressive right now because I'm young. And honestly, I feel like the older I get, I want to continue being aggressive. People will tell you to switch into bonds, maybe some dividends over time, but I want to try it for as long as I can to keep it aggressive because, man, my risk tolerance, I really can manage that risk. But imagine you're about to retire and there's like a 40% crash. Like that's just going to destroy you. And maybe that's going to happen to me. And I might think, man, kind of hate my 32-year-old self for thinking I could just ride the aggressive wave my entire life, but maybe I should have been a little more protective of my funds, right? So again, assess your risk tolerance, figure out exactly where on the spectrum you fit, and then from there you can decide what you want to do. But some ways to get around this, like it says here, to mitigate this, keep 2 to 3 years of cash or short-term bonds as a buffer so you're not forced to sell stocks during these downturns. Right? Short-term bonds help manage return risk because they're stable, liquid, and less affected by interest rate swings, giving you a reliable source of cash to draw from when markets are down. And this is specific to short-term bonds and not, I guess, regular bonds or long-term bonds. I'm not exactly sure if there's a difference. Maybe they're just called bonds and short-term bonds, but short-term bonds specifically in this case, all right? And then longevity. We talked about this earlier, right? Plan as if you'll live well into your 90s. That often means maintaining some equity exposure for growth, not going 100% conservative too soon. Imagine if you knew that you were going to live till 95 and you retire at 62. Okay? That still gives you a long time until reaching 95 that you might as well let that money grow for you. All right? It gives you 33 years until that's a long time. Like I haven't even lived 33 years yet. So imagine if I retire at 62 and die at 95. That's 33 years that my money can still grow for me. And 33 years is a long time. Okay? Let's go back to this compound interest calculator. And let's just do some math here for 33 years. And again, just imagine I'm starting with 0, annual rate of return 8%, and let's say I'm a little older now. I have some money. I'm a little bit older. I'm going to say I'm going to contribute $500 a month. Years invested 33. Okay, let's see what this can do for us. This is going to be crazy, guys. Look at this. That's almost another $1 million that I can just get in those 33 years, right? Just by contributing $500 a month, which probably at that age I'll be able to do, and hopefully a lot of you watching will also be able to do. So there is still, it's almost like that is a brand new, it's like I'm being born again at 62 and then till 95. It's a brand new life. It's like I'm going to be able to ride a new version of the stock market. Whatever happens in those 33 years is going to be entirely different from what happened between the ages of 0 to 33. Now it's 62 to 95. So that's a whole entire new life you're living essentially. You can let your money grow. You can play it safe in bonds, dividend stocks, so on and so forth. You get to now, with all the wisdom that you've accumulated, make new investment money moves. So act like you're going to live forever. Have that mindset. I'm going to live for a long time. I can still let my money grow. I can still protect my assets. Everything that applied back then still applies now. And if you have that mentality, I think you'll really make your money work for you in the way that you need for it to. Okay. Finally, and I love this piece because this piece right here is so important, right? Protecting your time and peace of mind. Build structure. Many semi-retirees struggle with purpose once work is in the center. This is why I feel like the FIRE movement personally, if I love what I do, okay, yes. Is having a 9 to 5 like amazing all the time? No, it's not. Is having all these deadlines sometimes and my bosses are down on my neck. Maybe it's not the best thing, right? But what does it do, right? The 9 to 5 for me, the way I see it, it offers stability. It lets me get out of the house, lets me talk to people. I'm getting a stream of income, right? So if you think of it this way, you have this structure. And when you're older, and maybe, unfortunately, let's say some of your family has passed on, you have friends that have passed on, especially if you're like one of the only ones in your circle, that structure is really going to help you as you start getting older. So don't think of it like, oh, I'm giving my life away, or I can't do whatever I want. Think of it like you're giving yourself that structure, that stream of income, that challenge. So this is something that really all of us need to think about the older we get. Okay, simplify, fewer accounts, automated withdrawals, consolidated portfolios, and a trusted advisor can reduce mental clutter. Again, the trusted advisor, be very careful, okay? Can you really trust them? They're taking so much money out of your account. They're making money, and they're taking money away from you, right? Just think about that. You want to be continuing to make money. Remember, you have 33 years. If you're retired at 62 and live to 95, okay? Just saying, you have a long time. So this consolidated portfolio piece, something very interesting, right? There was this mistake I kind of made a couple of, just like last year, I had so many positions in my portfolio, all that were overlapping. What I want you to do this right now. If you're like me and you have a ton of different if you have a ton of different funds, let's say, go and see what they're doing. Like I didn't understand that like you can be invested in different funds like FXAIX or VOO, VTI, and all of these can have a lot of positions that overlap. So if you go into, let's say, your favorite fund, like I can do something like FXAIX Fidelity. Let's see what it pulls up here. Index fund. Can we see? Okay, right? You can see here the top 10 holdings, right? Okay, Nvidia, MSFT, Apple, Amazon. Go into another one, like let's see, I think we did SCHG the other day, large cap growth ETF, right? This is just one of those examples where you can see there's overlap, right? Nvidia, MSFT, Apple, AVGO, or something else like I think VOO stock, right? What you really want to do is once you start, this is when you really start getting into the fun. This is like the fun piece right here. Portfolio distribution. I had invested a little bit into VOO. I was invested a little bit into SCHG, FXAIX. I had a lot of overlap in between all these different funds, right? So what I did is like I only need one thing tracking the S&P. I don't need 5 things tracking the S&P. So when I think of things like this that are consolidated portfolios, try to reduce the amount that you have, right? I think when you're really focused into one and you can dedicate your time and energy into that, that's really where you'll see the best returns, right? And then of course things like fewer accounts, automated withdrawals, so on and so forth. Things that we've already talked about. This at this point of the series of these videos, this should start kind of coming easy to you. You should sort of understand what it means by this time. And again, I think if it was in the last video or 2 videos ago, I talked about how a lot of people just want to set it and forget it. Maybe just do the simple plan to wealth, invest in BT stocks, and be on with your life. But the more money you make, to me, it kind of makes sense that you're going to need to know how to manage some complexity. It just kind of comes with the territory. More money you have, you didn't get to that amount of money because I don't know. I'm not there yet, but if you can figure out how to manage complexity intelligently and not just set it and forget it, if you're willing to do the extra bit of work, you can make a lot more money. Okay, so maybe at this point you will have fewer accounts, consolidated portfolios, but you're still going to have to be the one looking into this, unless, of course, you want to pay for a trusted professional. Again, you decide if you can trust them or if you're willing to give your money to them. But just know that you're going to need to be the one that's managing your portfolios yourself to make sure that you can protect your time and peace of mind. Finally here, focus on quality of life, hobbies, health, family experiences. These become your true returns. Honestly, you should be doing this even as of now. No one knows when we're going to pass away. No one knows how much time we have left on this earth. So do your best to just enjoy your life. At the end of the day, my wife always says, money comes, money goes. That's one of those things that it sounds so simple, but when you really think about it, enjoy your time. The way I see it, you can think, oh, that's cringe advice. Make some dumb mistakes, not too crazy. Like don't gamble like don't gamble your mortgage, right? Don't put your house on the line, But if you want to have some fun, enjoy your life, Make some small dumb decisions. If you want to go to the casino, invest a little bit, that's fine. If you want to go on that vacation that you've been trying to save money for your whole life, whatever, like just have a good time, enjoy the people you're around, spend the money on people that matter, be generous with your money. If you want to buy something for your parents, maybe you want to retire your family early if you can. Just these are the little things that honestly over time, even if you're young, will compound and will just make your life a lot more meaningful. There's just nothing else better in the world that I'd rather do than spend time with loved ones. And at the end of the day, that is what I think ultimately all of us want to do. So you can save, invest, FIRE, retire early, and just have like nothing to do with your life. But just enjoy your time here on earth, as all of us should. Whether you're 20, 65, 95, focus on these things, your hobbies, your health, your family, new experiences. It will give you the best returns than money can give you, okay? Okay, money priorities, the second section. I was reading this earlier, and it's kind of just a summary of what we just talked about, right? So withdrawal strategy. We talked about that 4% rule. Dynamic spending, right? 4% is just a guideline, not really a rule. Figure out your dynamic spending. Sometimes you might spend more, other times you might spend less. Be smart about it. The Roth conversions, right? Reduce that taxable income. Move it from your traditional IRA 401k to Roth instead of pulling it all out at once. Really, let's say, clever tricks that I didn't really know about it. Now we do. Now both of us do. Simplify, consolidate accounts, automate distributions, easy things to do. You should be doing that even at lower income brackets, okay? Purposeful giving and legacy, family trust, charitable causes. I was looking at this a little bit earlier, right? These donor advised funds that we talked about, I think a video or 2 ago. Things like this, great things to do. Optional work, consulting, passion projects, or teaching. Anything you can do to give your life more purpose, more meaning will go a long, long way. Guys, we have come a long way in the different income brackets. Again, 0 to 60K, 60K to 120K, 120K to 250K, 250K to 500K, and finally now we're at the point of financial independence and semi-retirement or full retirement. We've learned so much in this series. So let me know in the comments below what has been the most important thing that you've taken from all these different videos. What are some things that you're going to implement for yourself, short term, long term? What is it going to be? I feel like really all in all, the main thing is grow your money, protect your money, and do meaningful things with your life. That's really what I want you all to take away from this. So with all that being said, I'm very happy that I was able to film today on a Sunday. It's just a nice sort of change of pace. Now I'm going to start making new videos again. I have a lot of things I want to talk about. I mean, let's go to this finance YouTube related videos, right? If I go here, I have a plethora of things I want to talk about, right? Just like random things here. Debts and loans, retirement and long-term planning. We have things like banking and credit. What is ACH, the automatic clearinghouse? There's a story about Mr. Beast in crypto, personal finance for ideas on Reddit. Okay, where to save money for a house. We have a lot of things that we're going to talk about, and hopefully a lot of things to talk about for the coming years, decades, so on and so forth. I believe this is going to be my 24th video. Okay, I'm so close to completing my 30-day challenge, and I'm so happy to everyone who has decided to comment, subscribe, watch the videos. It's so motivating to see the numbers, and I promise you this is the first time in my life after many attempts at starting on YouTube that I've seen this amount of progress. So if you want to see the end of the 30-day challenge, okay, you want to see my stats, some of my insights, things I've learned throughout this whole process. If you're a content creator looking to do the same thing, stick around, follow me, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff. And with all that being said, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my Sunday. I hope if it's Sunday for you, well, it can't be Sunday for you because you'll watch this on Monday, but I hope when you're watching this, you're having a great start to your work week, and I will see you all next time. Take it easy, guys.